All right, everybody, what motion pictures let me down so much that I felt like I just took a straight punch to the gonads? We're going to find out. All right, everybody, what this list is a list of motion pictures that really I was hyped for, I was waiting for, I was excited to see, and they totally just let me down. They were totally just crushing because they were such a letdown from what I would have ever imagined they could have been. Now, are they the worst motion pictures of all time? No, that's not what I'm saying. Are they even the worst motion pictures in the franchise? Because a lot of these are sequels. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is these are movies that I was amped up to see, hyped up to see, went and seen, and was incredibly let down by. Let's go. Oh yeah, and by the way, I'm not going to get really in-depth on these motion pictures. This is just a very quick listing, a very quick overview. I'll get in-depth on these things when I wind up reviewing them. And I'm going to review them all at some point or another. So, I just wanted to say, this is just the list. I'm not breaking these things down, getting into the cast and all that kind of stuff. I'm just letting you know my list. All right, let's get back on track. Okay, everybody, number 5. J.J. Abrams directed Star Wars Episode 7, that horror show from 2015. The hype was huge for this motion picture. Everybody was waiting to see it. We were all waiting to see what this thing delivered upon. We were promised it was going to be practical effects and less CGI and more down to earth and blah, 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 blah. What we got was a giant steaming pile of shit. The first 15 minutes of this motion picture were actually halfway decent. You seen the whole thing going on with the Finn character, and you're like, oh my god, a stormtrooper breaking down during a battle, and oh my god, we're going to see things we've never seen before. We're going to go on his adventure of seeing how he can't take this, and it's breaking him up, and he goes rogue, and all this other kind of stuff. And what we got was a slapstick comedy character thrown inside of a motion picture with a lead character, Rey, who was like this little, puke of a character. I mean, they didn't give her any development. The dialogue was horrible. They didn't make her into a character you cared about. She just showed up on the scene, graced by God, with all the powers and all the ability, and it was a total, what do they call a Mary Sue character or something like that. It was just pathetic and horrible, and I hated this motion picture from top to bottom. There was parts I was looking over at Kyle, and we were going back and forth looking at each other like, should we just leave? I mean, it was just such a letdown. It was such a crushing thing. Yeah, they brought back, Harrison Ford, and that was kind of cool. And you were waiting to see Mark Hamill, who you've seen for about an eighth of a second at the end of it. This thing was bad. It was still better than The Last Jedi. I'll give it that. But because I went into this expecting something and wanting something and waiting for something and being so crushed by it, it has to go on my list. By the time Last Jedi came around, I knew I was going to get shit anyway, so I didn't care. You know what I mean? So, this... number 5. Okay, we got Jean-Pierre Jeannot's 1997 Alien Resurrection. Oh my god, this thing was truly a horror show. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dude, you didn't pick Alien 3? Yes, Alien 3 had problems, but I didn't hate it as much as this motion picture. I mean, I know they screwed Fincher over. There was a lot of rewrites and all kinds of crazy shit going on in Alien 3. But for some reason, I can actually watch that movie on occasion. I can sit there and put it in and be like, okay, this isn't too bad, blah, 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 whatever. But by the time Alien 4 came down, I was like, all right, let's see a tour de force. Let's bring it back. You've seen a bunch of people. You've seen guns in the trailer. It had Michael Wincott in it. And from The Crow and Strange Days, I'm a big Michael Wincott fan, so I was like, I got to be there for that. It had Brad Dourif. I'm like, how can you not love this going in? And then you've seen what it was, and it was like a action bad comedy. It was just garbage. It was so bad. About halfway through it, I'm like, what the hell is taking place in this movie? They couldn't have come up with something better than this? They couldn't have come up with something more entertaining than this? It was just shit all the way around. And that underwater scene with the aliens, by the way, where apparently every human can hold their breath for about 6 friggin' minutes or something, was the most stupidest thing I ever seen in my life. It was bad comedy thrown into a bad action movie, thrown into a sci-fi space horror flick, and you expected to see something good, and in the end you got a big half-mutant baby mutant alien thing that just left you like, what the fuck was the point of this? Alright, this one hurt. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. We had just gotten done with 4, well, two great Star Trek motion pictures and two okay Star Trek motion pictures. You had The Wrath of Khan, which was the standard bearer and always will be. Phenomenal motion picture. You had 4, which, you know, The Voyage Home was a really good flick, pardon me. It was the first one that had some comedy added to it. It lightened things up a bit. You had George and Gracie the whales. It was done perfect. It's what the franchise needed at that point. You know, you had Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, which was good, not great, but good. And you had the motion picture, which, yes, was slow and a little bit meandering, but at the same time, you had your original cast back. You had these beautiful shots of the ship. You got into it. So you had 4 great movies. Okay, 2 great, 2 okay. And you went into this thing. Now, I can get into the whole thing, which I will in the future, about why the special effects look like shit and ILM was involved. I can get into the whole point about how they screwed over Shatner and they cut out the budget and they left him screwed over from what he really wanted. I could get into all that and I'll do it at another time. But I'm just saying, when you went and seen Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, you were like, what? Cybok? Finding God in the ass end part of the galaxy? You got, or pretend to be God. You got Uhura doing a fucking fan dance on the hill. You got one-liners where Scotty's banging his goddamn head. You got decks in the Enterprise when they're going up the elevator shaft that don't even exist because it doesn't have that many decks in it. It was the worst thing they ever put into the Star Trek universe, bar none. I don't give a shit what one. Even those piece of shit J.J. Abrams flicks. This is the crowning jewel of shit when it came to Star Trek. I'm sorry, it just is bad, bad, bad. Oh God, this was so sad. This was so sad. Superman 3. Man, Superman 1 was awesome. When they said that they're going to make you believe a man can fly, God damn it, you believed a man could fly. We had the time of our lives at that flick. Then you went and seen Superman 2, and it was still awesome. Yeah, there was a lot of behind-the-scenes shit going on between Richard Donner and, you know, Lester and the Salkinds and all this other kind of crap, and who directed how much of the movie and all this other kind of happy horse shit. But Superman 2 was still enjoyable. You enjoyed it, man, with Zod and his crew and the fight in New York City. Yeah, a little bit of slapstick came into it, but it was still good enough to where you loved the first Superman. You really, really liked the second Superman and maybe loved it too. And you were waiting to see the third Superman. And they delivered to you this giant steaming piece of shit with Richard Pryor in it, who I love. And it was like Superman battling a computer, and it was a clusterfuck of epic proportions. I remember sitting there saying, what is going on? What did they do? It was hokey. The whole Lana character coming in, and Ned O'Toole, who I like, is, you know, I like her work and shit, but in this way, it just didn't work. I didn't like it. It was soul crushing when you were a kid, sitting there watching Superman 3 go down in flames. And by the way, before we go any further, I know he was only in 2 Supermans that are worthy of even watching, but Christopher Reeve is Superman, was Superman, will be the only Superman. Yeah, the Henry, whatever his name is, he did okay and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to shit on the guy. But Christopher Reeve will always be Superman to all of us. That's just the way it goes. Peace, love, happiness on that. Nothing more needs to be said. All right, I'm going to throw you a bonus one. I told you this was going to be 5, but now I'm going to throw you one that's a bonus, so it really makes it 6. But this is a bonus. It probably should be number 6, but it could have been at the end of the list, too. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. I'm sorry. Piece of garbage. Now, I know that was going to be the first one for all of us without Jim Cameron directing it. So you knew there was problems already going in. You knew there was going to be problems, but you didn't care because you had the first one, which was fucking legendary. You had the second one, which was amazing, and you were hoping that they could actually deliver on this motion picture. And guess what? They didn't. You got Christiana Loken playing this female Terminator, liquid half, endoskeleton half, whatever the hell was going on. From the minute you seen Arnold show up and he's wearing the Elton John sunglasses and everything, you knew this movie was shit. And you knew it wasn't going to work. I didn't think they cast Nick Stahl correctly as John Connor. I wasn't buying it. The whole motion picture, him walking around with a giant casket on his shoulder and with guns, and it was hokey, it was goofy, it was just a poor delivery. Am I saying that they didn't come out with worse Terminator movies later? No. But I'm saying following the high of number 1 and number 2 and giving us that motion picture, epic letdown, epic letdown. Sitting in the theater saying, why'd you do it? Why'd you go there? We didn't need it. You shouldn't have made it. Enough said. Okay. Nothing will ever top this. Nothing will ever top this. Nothing will ever top this. 1991's Russell Mulcahy directed Highlander 2. Oh my God, I was such a fan of the first Highlander movie. I love the first Highlander movie. I still to this day love the first Highlander movie. Christopher Lambert, Clancy Brown, Sean Connery, Queen, everything was perfect in that motion picture. I worship it till this day. So when I got the chance to see the trailer come on TV, or I shouldn't say the chance, the trailer came on TV, and I'm like, Highlander 2 with the same director as the original one? And Christopher Lambert looked really kind of cool, and it was dark, and he had the fucking long hair going and a trench coat, and you're like, oh, he looks badass. This is going to be badass. I don't know what's going on, but this is going to be badass. And then you're 4 minutes into this motion picture, and you're saying to yourself, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. From the weirdo crow creature, from the way the film was shot and looked, it was just bizarre. It looked like shit. You didn't believe in the love story. You didn't believe in the effects. The two guys that were running around crackling like crows just boggled my mind. I couldn't even believe that they were making this motion picture, let alone putting it on celluloid for us to witness. Then they went into it, and you find out that the immortals were fucking aliens from another planet. Are you shitting me? What? Then they actually made another cut of this movie trying to swap this all around to get rid of that and basically redo the movie. And you know when you have to take a movie and try to completely radically re-fucking cut it up to make it better and to erase parts of the plot, you know that you have not only made a piece of shit the first time, but the second one that's supposed to fix the piece of shit became a bigger piece of shit. Highlander 2: The Quickening will always be the greatest letdown to me of all times in motion pictures. Beyond probably what I would say is probably one of my 2 or 3 worst movies ever made, right up there with like Blood Rain and a couple others. It was such a letdown. It was such a soul-crushing thing. Man, you wanted to see what happened to Connor McLeod, the Claude McLeod. You wanted to see where his story went. You wanted to see how this all took place. And instead you got this garbage. It was garbage. And I remember sitting there being so demoralized, like, what the hell were they doing? I could have given this shit to a couple of high school students and they could have made a better motion picture. It was just trash. It was garbage. Again, I'm not going to get into it because someday I'll get into the review of it just to bash on the thing. And a lot of these movies I try not to remember too much about because they were just so god awful. I've watched them once or twice and just never witnessed them again. But Highlander 2 will always be the high mark upon which all other letdowns are measured, bar any. All right, everybody, that was it. Just a little quick special edition. Threw these things out there, put them in the list. Someday I'll go over all these motion pictures, and I don't know why, because I didn't like any of them, but I'm going to wind up doing them sooner or later. So this is just a quick run through, a quick listing to show you my 5, and a bonus of a 6th, biggest letdowns in movie history for me. All right, everybody. Peace, love, happiness. Get more movie episodes up soon. All right. Peace. Bye.